already know about South Africa? Look at these next questions and answer true or false. Let's do a little bit of pronunciation practice. Why don't you listen to how I read the question and then try and repeat it while you're reading. As you get a bit better, you should try to repeat it without reading it. Alright, number 1. South Africa is in the southern hemisphere. Number 2. The population is less than in Italy. Number 3. There are 11 official languages, including Zulu, Afrikaans and English. Number 4. South Africa is home to the Big Five. Number 5. They drive on the left-hand side of the road. What side do we drive on in Italy? Hang on. Number 6. The most popular sports are football or soccer, rugby and cricket. Number 7. The South African flag is black, yellow, green, white, red and blue. Number 8. The area of South Africa is 4 times the size of Italy. Maybe. Number 9. There are 3 capital cities. Number 10. Until about 25 years ago, black people and white people were separated. Okay, now that you have answered all those questions, true or false, here are your answers. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 are all true! Yes, I tricked you. So, interesting question. Now that we know that all of those statements are true, I never knew all of those things. Did you know that they were true? No. Well, I've got a couple of questions. What are the Big Five? What does that mean? What does the South African flag actually look like? I've got quite a few questions. Do you know what? I'm going to give you time to put this on pause and maybe go and do a bit of... Yes? Sorry, Anita? Oh, sure, yeah, you can go to the toilet, that's fine. So I'm going to put it... Yes? Sorry, Valentino? Oh, your finger's sore? Oh, yeah, go and ask the secretary if you can get some ice, that's fine. All right, so I think you can... Oh, yes, what would you like, Anna? Oh, you haven't got a pen? Okay, we'll borrow one from Dimitri. Oh, Dimitri hasn't got a pen either. Has anyone got a pen for Dimitri or Anna? Dimitri, why didn't you tell me before you didn't have a pen? Oh, you've been using a pencil. Okay, is everybody ready? I don't think you are. Why don't you put this on pause and then research the next frame, put it on pause, and then you can go to the toilet and get your pens and your papers and everything organised, ready for the next bit. Okay, now turn to the worksheet that you've printed out. If you look down the bottom on the information line below this video, you'll see there's a link to a PDF file. Print out that PDF file and now turn to this worksheet here. You can see there's a timeline. There are lots of spaces here on the timeline. What do you reckon is missing from there? Yes, that's right. There are dates missing. So I want you to listen to this presentation and write down the missing dates. Are we ready? Okay, to start with, did you know that in 1652, Dutch settlers came to the Cape? The Cape is in the southernmost part of South Africa. So 1652, that's like about 400 years ago. Later on, the British settlers also arrived. These European settlers from Britain had black slaves from America and India and Indonesia. This was around the 1750s. Another 100 years later, about 1834, slavery was banned. It stopped. And then in 1900, Gandhi was in South Africa. Gandhi was an Indian man, and he was protesting in a very peaceful way against segregation and discrimination. And he was doing peaceful demonstrations in South Africa because when he went there to work, he didn't really like the way the Indians were being treated by the other South Africans. In 1913, blacks still could not own their land. So if you couldn't have your own land, you couldn't own it, you couldn't grow food or vegetables, you couldn't have a house, you couldn't build a family. Then in 1918, Nelson Mandela was born in a tribe in South Africa. In 1945, apartheid was rife. It means separation in Afrikaans. What exactly does apartheid look like? Apartheid is a separation from black people and white people, or coloured people and white people, or Indian and Asian people from white Europeans. Mandela at the time was the vice president of the ANC, the African National Congress, which was a political party. And he was trying to push for new laws that would stop this separation. There was lots of peaceful resistance to apartheid, similar to that of Gandhi and also Martin Luther King in the United States. Look at this next presentation with some photos that give you an idea of exactly what apartheid might look like. Later, in 1964, Nelson Mandela was put into prison. But not just for a few months or a few years. He was imprisoned for 27 years as a political prisoner. What is a political prisoner? It's somebody who is put into prison for something they believe. He believed that blacks and whites shouldn't be segregated and separated and discriminated against. And just because he thought this, he was put into prison for 27 years. He spent most of this time in a prison on an island. There are lots of islands that have been famous for being prisons. This one in South Africa that is just off the coast of Cape Town was called Robben Island Prison. Robben Island is not a prison today, obviously. You can visit it. It is a World Heritage Site, a UNESCO site. Look at these following pictures that give you an idea of the cell that Nelson Mandela had to stay in for 27 years and the life that he had in prison for all of that time. From 1967, there was lots of international protest. Other countries and the United Nations were against apartheid in South Africa. In fact, South Africa was banned from playing in international sporting events. Sporting events, like really important ones, like the Tri-Nations between Australia, New Zealand and South Africa for the rugby. International events like the Olympics, South Africa was not allowed to participate. In 1990, F.W. de Klerk, the president of South Africa, stopped apartheid and he freed Mandela. That was in 1990. 4 years later, Nelson Mandela was voted president in the first non-racial democratic election. This means that everybody could vote, whether you were black or white or European or Indian or Asian. In 2013, Nelson Mandela died at the age of 95. Okay, next activity. Now look at this worksheet here. You're going to listen to an audio. Listen to it twice, so go back to the start and listen twice and see if you could complete the spaces with the missing information.
When I lay down, my head touched the wall at one end and my feet touched the wall at the other end. The room was about 6 feet wide. I was 46 years old, a political prisoner with a life sentence, and that small space was going to be my home for a long time. The first week, we began the work. Each morning we were given hammers and had to break stones. Warders walked among us and made us work in silence. The work was boring and difficult. At noon we would break for lunch. That first week, all we were given was soup. In the afternoon we were allowed to exercise for half an hour under strict supervision.
Good job! Well done, everybody. You've almost finished. You need your last worksheet, okay? Now, this worksheet here can help you to go over what you've learnt and see what has stuck. You can work in pairs or in threes or even on your own. Try and answer the questions. You can use your notes that you've made when you've built up your timeline, or challenge yourself and see if you can even do it all off by heart, just by memory. Well, good luck and thank you. Bye.